Good morning, everyone. My name is Li Wang. I'm the Learning Support Services Manager at University of Auckland Library. I'm very pleased to introduce our session presenter. His name is Claudio Aguayo, and he is a Senior Research Officer at Center for Learning and Teaching at Auckland University of Technology, AUT. I think I do not want to spend too much time to introduce him because all the information available on the website. You can read more, so I want to ask him to spend more time on this very interesting topic. If you look at all these acronyms, AR, VR, MR, RR, in learning and teaching digital projects, let's all welcome him.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming to this session. Two announcements. Please bear with me if technology fails. That tends to happen. And the second one, I'll let you know soon. Cool. So the topic of this presentation is AR, VR, MR, and RR, meaning augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed realities, and real reality in learning and teaching digital projects. So as an overview of the presentation, I will introduce some concepts around AR, VR, MR, then move to the concept of real reality, or how this re-emerged in my practice, and finally how we've been bringing together AR, VR, MR, and RR within learning and teaching research and development projects at the Center for Learning and Teaching at AUT. So I'll be showing you real apps, and some of the things I will show might take some time to load. As a start then, augmented reality is understood as the overlaying of digital information upon the view of a real-world environment using the combination of a smartphone camera view and the viewing screen. We'll visit some examples very soon. Virtual reality, in turn, involves the use of computer-generated interactive immersive experiences that users can experience using head-mounted displays. Virtual reality, for those of you that know, has been around for quite a long time. The most remembered work is the one from Sutherland around 1965. And I'm aware that there are earlier versions of virtual reality, but it's only today that we can use the power of smartphones that we all, or probably most of all, carry in our pockets to display such technology. In terms of MR, this is really the continuum between real environment, real reality, augmented reality, and virtual reality. And what Milgram and Christina refer as the virtuality continuum back in 1994. And this figure kind of represents the concept, how you have this continuum of learning experiences that can be achieved through different degrees of technology involvement, from a real environment to augmented reality. Actually, that's wrong, sorry. From virtual reality on the left, on the right, sorry. Another way to represent this to more commonly known features are obviously the real environment on the left, augmented reality using AR apps to scan codes, QR codes, or triggers, markers, and so forth, with augmented virtuality, which starts to request the generation of computer-based animations, for example, where the user can interact with the displays, all the way to virtual reality, where the use of headsets is required. So I will show you a few examples of the projects I've been more or less directly involved, either leading or co-leading. And at the Center for Learning and Teaching, we do have other projects that do explore AR, VR, but some of them, well, we only have so much time for this session, so I just included those that have been involved directly. So Our goal at the Center for Learning and Teaching is to promote the best possible learning outcomes for all learners using the mobile technology, learning technologies. The first example I want to show you, and now I will have to go to the app itself, is the Hefare Ako Hefare Hangara framework we developed as part of Ako Aotearoa funded project, exploring learners and the use of mobile devices. So I have to invite you to this place in the appropriate way. What you just heard is the karanga, or the formal calling into the learning house, the wharenui. And in this app, in this project, we use the concept of the wharenui as a metaphor to bring together, on one hand, Kaupapa Maori philosophies and values, on the other hand, mobile learning pedagogies, frameworks, philosophies. This app is already available. Any of you can download it if you want, and I do recommend you to have a look at it. But the key thing of this app is the framework itself. And just to quickly show you, for example, sorry about that, we'll get a few of those. When you enter the wharenui, you first start at the courtyard of the wharenui of the house, where the host invites you by the call. That's the point of the first encounter. In the metaphorical parallel, that's where, for example, teachers meet users and learners, students, and they have to come to a common agreement in how to use devices within the learning space. But the key thing of this framework is the metaphorical wharenui itself. So what we did pretty much is to use each feature of the house and bring the parallels between the two underlying views. For example, the papaka. The papaka from the Kaupapa Maori side refers to the base stream around the wharenui, and it's just another layer of foundations. In the concept of the framework, this refers to values. Sorry, I forgot to mention, this is a values-based framework. On the right side, you have the mobile learning component. You can explore further by touching more info. And if you touch at the center, that's where the magic happens, where the two worlds come together into a set of guidelines on how to best use technology in a learning environment. But in terms of VR in this case, we included this virtual marae. So users not only have the chance to explore the app itself by reading text and looking at the figures, but also by immersing themselves into this space. So the papaka, which is the example we just visited, if I press the video play button, I'll show you the example.
Moving upwards from the floor, we then go to the papaka, or the weave-based trim around the wharenui. The base trim around the wharenui is another layer upon the foundation of values, but it represents the additional theories and frameworks that are important to learning.
In terms of teaching and learning, the base trim of the house represents the philosophical foundations of learning theories and frameworks, which constitute the theoretical basis of mobile learning theory, research, and practice. Great. So we have been working on a more recent version of this. Oops, it's not working. Anyway, I was going to show you an example where you can actually use Google Cardboard headsets to split the screen of the virtual reality aspects of the house. This is the poster presentation at Turns in 2015, and we used the augmented reality to interact with the users. And this is to show really how we used augmented reality back then, 2 years ago, using Orasma as an application. And it allowed users, visitors of the conference, to really engage with the framework. This is another example. This is a prototype project, and it really addresses health and safety induction at the art and design workshop. So as you can imagine, the workshops are a, well, obviously dangerous place. So it is critical for students to have a really thorough induction in terms of safety. But currently, this is the way the technicians deliver the induction by paper-based processes, and that's how they manage it. So they came to us and asked, how can we improve our delivery of induction? And we thought of using, for example, AR as an on-site and VR as an off-site feature. As a concept, if we present the environment to users as a plan of the place, you can potentially click on any of those areas and take you to a VR environment. So this is where technology fails. We are supposed to go to a 360 view of the place, but it's not working. So I beg your pardon about that. But it's actually good because we have a lot to cover. In terms of AR, then, if you are on site, you can use augmented reality just to get to interact with the different machines and get to know how they work. And this is in the wish list part, how we can use beacon tracking so technicians know where students are at all times and what the degree of induction they have. For those of you who were at the keynote with Professor Padre Queja, you already saw this. This is a Motutapu Restoration Trust app, and the thing here is that we used, again, the idea of 360 videos. I'm sure you saw that in the presentation. So again, you can take people to places using augmented reality. This is another project, and Professor Padre Queja also showed it, is the Auckland Guided Tour. So the idea here is to bring together concepts of history and tourism, and how on the back end of the app, on the black and red, you can integrate so many things. Like this was a really challenge for us to deal with. What is of interest to people visiting Auckland, for example? Who are those visitors? Are they international or national tourists, etc.? But we managed to embed augmented reality and virtual reality in the project. So I can actually show you some of it. If we go to Adobe Experience. And I'll just focus on the AR part. So, for example, if you are, say, in Grafton Bridge in Auckland, and you are using the app, you can, for example, interact with the posters you can place there. But this is an example of it. So as you can see, obviously, AR in this case is a powerful tool to add information on the real world. And in this case, regarding tourism in Auckland. So let's go to real reality. This concept really emerged based on the work we did with the Hefariako Hangaro framework. and some of the work I did during my PhD. So as I mentioned, the wharenui represents the metaphorical aspects between mobile learning and Kapapa Maori philosophies and values. The floor represents the values, the walls represent the pedagogies, the rafters represent the technology, and the ridgepole represents the cloud or knowledge. So based on values, through pedagogies, using technologies, you can access knowledge. However, the most important pole of the wharenui is the central post, which represents the capacity we all have to access knowledge without the use of technology. I'll just show you that video for you. Oops.
So firstly, there are three main pillars to any wharenui. Together, these three posts or pillars represent the symbolical separation of Ranginui, or Sky Father, and Papatuanuku, Earth Mother. Within the framework, we talk specifically about Te Pou Toko Manawa. It is the most important pole or pillar of the wharenui, and it's considered the heart of the house. This pole directly connects Te Ira Tangata, or the physical realm, with Te Ira Atua, the spiritual realm. So within the context of our framework here, Te Pou Toko Manawa, the most important pole, it represents the direct connection between the physical wānanga space and the virtual wānanga space.
In mobile learning, this center post represents the intrinsic potential of individuals to learn. This learning process comes from the very heart of individuals. This main post is also a direct connection to the cloud, where the learner may directly connect with knowledge and understanding without assistance of technological devices, which represents the offline or face-to-face component of mobile learning. So what we're saying here is that offline and non-technology mediated learning is part of mobile learning, has to be considered as part of mobile learning. On the other hand, I did my PhD on how to best integrate learning technologies with sustainability education in green to promote understanding and action at the community level. So obviously, there was a lot of theory behind it, but the point is, I did a pilot study back home in Chile addressing the ecological degradation of the Lanahue Lake using Web 2.0 website back then, during 2009. But the thing is that key findings from my research was that learning technologies can promote understanding, ecological literacy, transformative learning, action taking, and participation at the community level when the content and the technology is shaped in the right way, when the content and technology is meaningful to users. However, in environmental education, sustainability education, there is a huge resistance against technology because it's seen as something that disconnects people to nature. So I've been presenting my research, my background across, well, for the last 8 years, probably, I don't know, 15 times in 5 different countries, in 8 different conferences. And I always get the same question at the end. How can you be promoting technology for environmental education? It does disconnect people to nature. So obviously that's a dilemma for me. How it's true, like how can I be promoting something that is regarded as almost evil in the field? So that forced me to think around how can we embed the concept of real reality in learning and teaching. So based on the Ako Hefare Hangaro framework and the work I've been doing in environmental education, sustainability education, I've come to the idea that you have to, ideally, and this is context dependent, but in the realm of environmental education, ideally you have to include analog, offline, face-to-face, non-technology mediated learning as part of mobile learning, as part of the use of technology. And as a goal, what we try to do now is to connect people to real reality through technology. not avoiding it, but through technology. And that actually was one of the findings from a PhD. Through the use of the website, people went back to the lake. They reconnected to the lake. They visited the lake after seeing the website. Those people were locals, people that used to drive next to the lake every day and think, oh, that lake is doomed, is dying. I don't care about it. But after seeing the website, they were able to reconnect with the lake. And one of the participants told me, I felt like it was a baby I have to look after now. I knew it was dying, but no one was doing anything, and I don't know what to do. However, after seeing the content, the website, I realized I have to take action. So that's an example, really, of how the idea of technology can connect people to places. So one of the last projects we worked on is the Otu Kapua, What Clouds See. We delivered it probably early March. And we developed this idea of a quest. And that was the first time we were able to explicitly bring RR into AR, VR, and MR. So we developed this idea of a quest using the app in the gallery space. And the whole project was about climate science, climate change, where scientists from NIWA and artists from the FO Collective, they came together and in this project around how to communicate science using art. Where am I? Oh, sorry, I left them here. So first, I'll just show you the space. Those are the partners involved in the project. And I just want to show you the gallery space. And this is using SIGBIC, a very friendly platform for the use of 360 pictures and videos. So as you can see, the space is pretty empty here, but all of those little colored things you see on the walls are markers or triggers for the AR aspects of the project. And this was in week 1. One part of the project, and this is where we added RR, was the use of analog workshops where schools, visitors, open studio approach, people was able to develop and paint their own bugs and birds and leaves. So it really was an evolving space. And the discussions generated around this project were just amazing. The feedback we received from the teachers, I think we had more than 500 kids from West Auckland coming to the space. And everyone was just blown away by the project. But going back to the app itself, we placed 10 markers, such as this one, around the space. And thanks to the technology from NIWA, from Emergia, people were able to just imagine you're in the gallery, look for those markers, and for example, looking at this bird, people was able to interact with the gallery, with the space directly. And we also had the brief to make it as oral as possible, not only visual, but oral as well. This marker represents the west wind in Auckland. And again, this one represents the rain. imagine the oral, imagine like 10 people in the space working with the app and generating this soundscape of birds, of wind, of animations. This is the interior of a tree. And we added things like the Poririmo, native to the Waitakere, West Auckland. This one, which is the VR component of the gallery. Was an invitation to visit the forest itself. So we placed 500 times, that's quite a lot. So people were able to go to the Waitakere itself, the forest in West Auckland, from the space, of the gallery, and just visit it. And for example, for those of you who've never seen a coyote, there you go, you have one there. And SIGBIC allows you to split your screen and use Google Cardboard, for example, to view the space. So that becomes a more immersive approach. And you can start and take a tour around the forest itself, although you're still at the gallery. And I'm hoping people actually visited the forest as it happened during my PhD with the website. But the key trigger is this one. It's a tree stump, and what it shows is the real weather and traffic conditions in Auckland, in West Auckland. That's an example of it, for example. So the blue bar in the middle represents the water level or the humidity in West Auckland. The color of the canopy represents the health of the tree. The particles represent the traffic. If you engage with this marker during peak hour, you will see millions, not millions, but a lot of particles just going crazy. And the leaves are moving depending on the actual wind conditions. So this marker was a way of bringing discussions around weather and traffic in an art space gallery and generate discussions around the science of it. So as you can see, this project involved augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality across the visit. Sorry, this part with technology doesn't help much. And yeah, we just delivered that project. And what next for us, this whole idea of RR is still emerging and ongoing. We were lucky enough with colleague Chris Eames from Waikato University to be granted a teaching and learning research initiative. And we just started a TLRI project at the Marine Reserve in Goat Island. We're working with the Discovery Center in the University of Auckland, in the Lee Marine Lab. And this will be another chance for us to explore this idea of AR, VR, MR within an RR component. The good thing, though, here is that the context involves outdoors, involves snorkeling, involves walking across the beach, and so forth. So really looking forward for the outcomes of this project. As a summary, what I want to highlight is that AR, VR, and MR represent a great potential for augmented learning and teaching in digital projects. It's all about how you shape the content and you make it meaningful to users. We do need to consider how to embed RR as a core principle within designing learning experiences. This will depend on the field, on the context of education, either formal, non-formal, informal, etc. But in the case of environmental education is a key thing. And finally, there is a need to research more around how to fully understand the potential of RR across educational contexts, and we hope that the TLRI project will shed some light on that. So thank you very much.
During time, we won't have time for questions, but I'm sure you have opportunities during the morning tea and lunchtime and talk to Claudio. Thank you so much, Claudio. It's an interesting, very interesting topic.